Time is the measure of opportunity. It is in time that we must succeed or fail. It is in time that we grow or decline. It is in time that the span of our lives can be measured within reasonable accuracy. There is something that we can do with our time to prevent it being a wasted opportunity so that our descendants can be grateful that we made life a little easier for them. Our entertainment is a waste of time for the most part. Many young people today do not expect to fulfill their life expectancy. They believe that somewhere along the line they are going to be eliminated, probably through nuclear warfare. This was the motto of the old Roman: eat, sleep, be merry, for tomorrow you may die. This type of thinking has continued to nurse ignorance and support falsehood. We are now in a world where people are not able to cope with the daily circumstances of life. Those who are a little older in years have certain inheritance of thoughtfulness. They are continuing to the best of their ability to make life a little better for themselves and each other. It is now increasingly obvious to young people that dissipation is a fatal mistake. This problem of trying to obscure time, trying to waste time by forgetting you even exist, is not working out. Little by little, a younger generation is destroying itself or disillusioning itself about its own attitudes. Life is not a series of events that have no relationships with each other. The most active and the most positive proof that we have is that the universe is an integrated human being, that the universe has integrities. It is known since antiquity that those with integrities receive natural support, and those without integrity destroy themselves. Nature does not give a victory to that which is not right. Freedom, as we call it today, is nothing but a travesty. It is the ability for an individual to do nothing. The moment an individual breaks away from the normal patterns of society, he is in trouble. The discovery of internal weakness can be a destructive factor or can be an inspiration for an individual to mend his ways. Time is the problem we have. This time is limited, and this time is something that gives us only a few years in which to do something. We know that we have social responsibilities and responsibilities to the bodily needs of the flesh in which we dwell. We know that we have to contribute to the support of society. We know that we have to have some kind of compensation or income for our efforts in order that we can live and eat and have shelter over our heads and educate our children. Little by little, we are losing our leadership over the machines that we invent. We have the algorithm that can perform calculations, data processing, and automated reasoning tasks. Equally, we have artificial intelligence that mimics cognitive functions of human minds, such as learning and problem solving? The reason, of course, is obvious. As we invent these machines, we give up our individuality. We are gradually becoming unemployed because we are created instruments that are going to displace us. We are not protecting our domains as animals do. We're not taking care of our young as birds do. We're simply doing as little as we can because the intuitive, instinctual part of our own nature has been blocked. Here we are with this time on our hands. What are we going to do about it? We're not just here to punch buttons and press touch screens. We're not here to sit in an office and send emails. We are here for a multitude of purposes. The leisure time that we buy is a very precious commodity. Something that should not be wasted on social media. There are more things to do. The individual has a self within him to bring out. He has capacities he's not even interested in developing. Within himself, he carries the greatest potential of any living creature in the earth. Man has the power to be that which is willing to accept the responsibility for. But he wants no responsibility. He wants to do as he pleases. We are flattered into extravagance. We are wasting constantly what we cannot afford. We are living beyond our means in the majority of instances simply because we do not care about the future. We do not care about a world we're going to leave behind sometime. In this particular problem, it's a matter of finding out that we will live longer and better if we're doing something that we believe in. If we're making some kind of effort to help others, to advance the cause of good projects, if we're definitely engaged in meaningful activity that satisfies the mind, heart, and the hand, we'll have much better chance of health. There's nothing more likely to produce health relapse than escaping responsibility. The more we escape, the more we compromise. The more we dissipate, the more likely it is that we will particularly die on our feet because we have nothing left to live for. Therefore, it's a good point to start as early as we can to figure out how to use these potentials we have. Everyone who has a trade should have an heart. Everyone who has a craft should work towards his profession. Everyone who is working should work for three things: the good of society, the advancement of human needs and his own life, and the glory of God. Those were the principles in which labor was originally based. We've lost all of these and have now made it a virtue to think only one thing, and that's the job, and to stay on it till it wears us out and then someone else takes our place. This is not humanity. This is the result of a loss of the realization of the human dignity of very human being. We are all here for mutual support. In the course of society, it has become necessary for us to all cooperate to maintain the good of humanity. But in making this type of decision, we need dreams, we need hopes, we need visions, we need something in the inner life of the individual that makes it needful and proper for him to grow as a person. These hours that we have to ourselves are the opportunity for a cultural development. They are the period and time in which we can do the things that we want to do. But everything depends on our wanting to do something that is worthy of a human being. It doesn't have to be a great and masterful achievement, but it has to be something that is a step ahead of the monotony of labor. It has to give some contribution to the involving and evolving of life. The purpose of time is to make it a part of growth. We have not recognized the magnificent opportunity to do something that we can be proud of. We must prove conclusively that we are making use of potential. The human being has over 40 faculties in that skull of his, any one of which can develop an art or a science. It has all kinds of potentials waiting for something to do with them. A few, by working very hard in their field, become specialists to the degree that they are musicians or artists or great architects or highly gifted and recognized scientific thinkers. They have done a great deal and even much more for themselves to gain this kind of reputation. We all have the opportunity to spread out into the fields of emotional maturity. More and more people every day are beginning to realize that a series of divorces is not the symbol of a successful marriage. And also that children becoming minor delinquents are not proof that we're doing things well in the home. There is a need for a new attitude towards time. The only chance we have to learn how to live in this world is to live in this world. Man has been given the power to think, to dream, and to create. It is necessary to use this power in the high echelon of meaning. They are to be used to achieve more noble and significant actions. The great heroes that we admire are those who have made great and remarkable contribution to the common good. We must begin to honor integrities and recognize values. We must begin to review what to do with time. If we had 2 hours a day, for instance, or the weekend, the first most apparent field is service. Service of something that we respect, which calls out of ourselves sympathy, understanding, and charity. We can be involved in community projects and find greater help, greater happiness in working with underprivileged persons. The second form is self-improvement. One thing that gives consideration is language. If we are ever going to build interracial and international understanding, language becomes increasingly valuable. A study of language on the side will not interfere with your daily job as a dentist, or an architect, or a tradesman. It is simply a vocational discipline to prepare you for a future that is very likely to happen. When people want to talk to each other, they've got to have a basis of understanding. Depending on interpreters and translators is absolutely irrelevant. A world is growing around us in which other things are going to be tremendously important. Now you can get a genteel knowledge of French, but this isn't going to be so useful. Languages will have to be selected for use. Someone may come up and say, "We've got a job that is very important. We need a good South African to fill the job, but he must speak Russian." He's not going to have much competition. Another says, "We can put a very good man in Taiwan, but he must speak Chinese." So somebody else gets the job. This vocation gives us a tremendous atmosphere in which to work. It is an open door into a larger world. Another field that is vital is interreligious and interphilosophical understanding. The time has come when it is necessary for the mature and thoughtful individual to understand the beliefs of the human race, what they mean, and they can be advanced and used. When a person goes from this country to another, he should go with a reasonable understanding of the mechanics and inspirations of that faith. As language will open one door, a common belief of the integrity of the people will open another door. This does not mean he has to give up his own religion. It simply is that he has to recognize his own religion in the religion of other people. To communicate on a business standpoint can be the difference between another civil war and a better understanding between nations. These things have nothing to do with money, but they are to do with the great satisfaction of the spirit. Another problem is the philosophy of self-discipline. The individual must finally get to the condition in which he can run his own life, instead of being in the condition of being constantly apologetic for his mistakes. He should learn to gradually live and develop his own character. Discipline will prevent him from destroying his own body, will prevent him from making himself incapable of using the faculties with which he has been naturally endowed. Discipline, therefore, is a tremendous value. It prevents almost all forms of misunderstanding. It ends gossips, jealousy, and all small troubles that bother humanity. Discipline to put the self under the control of a pattern. This pattern doesn't have to be everybody else's pattern, but it must be a pattern which ensures that the person will never be less in his conduct than the best that he knows. This self-discipline is a beginning of brooding out the foundation of a complete life. A life has to be made up of a series of balanced factors. The individual who becomes unbalanced in living is going to head into disease and into sickness. When the time of life comes when he could enjoy himself a little bit, he'd be too tired, too sick, and too weary to worry about it. Discipline is the greatest factor in the maintaining of health. Health, in this case, is mental health, emotional health, and physical health. A little discipline every single day, and the fulfillment of those things which are best as they arise, the control of temper, the control of unkindness, the ability to live with someone who disagrees with you and still live happily and harmoniously. All people must learn to love beauty and love life as it is, instead of going out to criticize everything they see and do. They've got to learn the dignities of life and to appreciate emotionally and mentally the beauty with which this world has been naturally endowed. We have to gradually learn that we live in a beautiful world. Actually, therefore, we have to recognize that time is a problem in health. Time means we should do everything possible to maintain as good body health as we can for a reasonable length of time. That we should try to be able to face life with a certain amount of conserved vitality. If we waste everything we are on riotous living, we have no vitality, we have no help. Not only is health important towards the perpetuation of life, it is important for the moods which we become involved. The individual who has lost his vitality cannot have the proper internal adjustment with truth or reality. In any event, there should be no wasting time. We do not have to make time a burden. Time is not a responsibility. It is an opportunity. In all time, there must be growth. There must be something accomplished that makes us better for ourselves. We have to keep the rules if we want the rules to keep us. These rules are that we have to do things that mean something. The world of nature has disappeared for most people. The only time we see nature now is when we have to see pictures on Instagram of somebody else which they took on vacation. But there is a world we're missing, a world we're cutting out. We have to find new beauties that we didn't understand before. We want to be happy. We would like to have nice homes. We want to have a successful marriage. We would like to have attractive, interesting children. And we would like to help to build them into characteristics which are good for them. If we would build back simple normalcies in which sophistication has tried to destroy, we would not be one of those that tries to face the future as an addict of cocaine. The allotment of the opportunities of time that we have today is for the privilege of growing up into the beautiful realities which we have all dreamed about, growing and making come true the fairy tales of childhood. We can make things beautiful, but we can only do it if we gradually improve ourselves. Because of the kind of laboring world we live in, we have restricted opportunity and time to do all these beautiful things. But we can do most of them, however, if we do not waste the time. Well, that's it, folks.